The thing about the way Nigerian banks are built is I'm not entirely sure they are actually banks. Maybe we need to give them a new name. Nigerians generally expect Nigeria to improve without them paying taxes. We don't get money. We need to accept the fact that if we must move forward, taxes must be a part of that conversation.
I'm going to claim it, the first company from Nigeria to list on Amazon in 2019, and that was Export. Wow. And literally from there, I used to air freight my product and truck it to Amazon's warehouse from Lagos, from Nigeria.
How do you get into these markets? Because I mean, we've heard, so the US market, European markets, these are like some of the most difficult markets to get into.
Are they? So what people say is difficult is the fact that they have not studied which opportunities are open to them at a particular time. So I also think that people should not only look at what are we good at doing. Oh, we have lots of them, Gary, let's try sell cassava flakes to Americans. No, don't do that. Go, I say rather find a market and see if you can actually produce something that, that is not done here. I mean, I have done things most men cannot do.
Hello everyone, welcome to Drinks and Mics, brought to you by Nairametrics. We do this every Friday, well, at least you're watching, you start watching every Friday, 6 p.m. Of course, the show is taped midweek and goes live every Friday, 6 p.m. In case you're just watching this for the first time, it's on Nairametrics TV on YouTube. Just go there, follow, hit the what's that button again that you turn on? Notification button, and then you can always know when we have new episodes. The full gang is back today, and we are very happy to have with us a lady in the house. Yeah, I like to introduce the gang first, but I'm going to introduce the lady first. Ladies first, that's what they say. I know there's someone jealous because I didn't introduce him first. But you know what? We're going to introduce the lady first. So we have here with us none other than Mrs. Affiong Williams. Hello, madam.
Thank you, guys.
In case you don't know who she is.
Affie superstar.
In case you don't know who she is. Affie, let's just allow you introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. Don't put me on the spot.
What you do.
My name is Affie. I'm the founder and CEO of Real Fruit. We are the largest dried fruit processing company in Nigeria.
Largest, I like
yes,
that.
We are. Because we've been around for a long time. That's why. So we've been around for 13 years, building market, building an industry, and basically trying to take made in Nigeria to the world, pretty much.
Fantastic.
I want to share a funny story, and it just occurred to me, Affie. I was in Abuja last week. I just started running. And I was talking to a runner, right? And they were talking about you. And it just occurred to me that it's you.
No, wait.
She's a hardcore marathon.
Yes,
hits the marathon runners.
If what Affie does is running, what you're doing is not running.
It's just the way Arnold does it.
I'm a late Australian.
That's how he came to that and said he has started golfing. Anyway, of course, we have the usual gang with us. Tunji is back from his sojourn in Saudi. He's going to tell us a little bit about his experience in Saudi. And of course, we have none other than Sir Arnold Dublin Green.
Of Bonny Kingdom.
The only Sir that gave himself. So, okay, no.
Roller cake.
So that's fine. All right, so Tunji's been back. He brought a lot of stuff for you guys. Just go in the comment section and just at Tunji. And he's going to send you Saudi dollars.
Oh, shit.
But you must have a bank account, right? And then Tunji can send it to you. Didn't you see dollars in Saudi?
Oh my God. First, so I've never seen $3 million in cash before. I'm serious. I have never. I've seen it pass through accounts. But
I know
to actually see $3 million in one place in cash, I've never seen it before. And it was the way it was so normal. Yes, that's it. I think that's the problem I had. Like the guy, these airport bank branches that they're very small. That you go just change your dollars and you just get the currency. And this guy just comes and they just give him like 3 bundles of like dollars, and then he just puts it in the bag and just walks out. And me, I'm looking around like,
how much did you have it? Like maybe $1 million? Or
I had money. That's
how much did you have?
That's the important thing. So the truth is that I had my shoulders up when I entered.
And then
Nigerian,
it
they had
levels
Naira.
the-
Maybe I like $500 extra code.
The way they showed that, I humbled. As in, I was so humbled because the concierge was there to pick me up. So I came in. I was really feeling myself as I was walking through. But after I saw that, it was so humbling. And the way the guy walked out without any airs around. If it was in Nigeria,
It's like $4.5 billion. Billion naira.
as in if it was in Nigeria, that there was there would be police
sting
and everything.
operation.
The guy just walked out like.
Wow. One day.
By the way, and I just sent Arnold the message. I said, this we can buy gold bars here.
Wow. Anyways, welcome back from Saudi.
Thanks.
Good to have you back on the show. I mean, the guys missed your absence last week, even though it wasn't really missed. You know what I mean? Yeah, the show went on. Wasn't really missed. Did you miss him?
I missed it. I missed the energy.
Really?
So my fellow star sign.
So you think we didn't have energy? We didn't have energy the
We're
last
crazy
episode.
people together now. Oh, okay.
We didn't have energy the
Can
last
we open the
episode.
drink now? Can we?
Oh, yeah.
You said we should.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. Afi's here, so we'll open the drink.
So yeah. By the way, we're still doing 21. Yeah.
Are you
Do you
gonna
know
open it?
there's a new
promise.
there's a new
Are you missing something? You're just opening
sorry,
it.
don't
Gotta show some respect. Gotta
oh
show
my
respect.
god.
Gotta show respect. I feel you know now, like where we're from. You gotta you have to give the elders the bottle to touch.
By the way, the hotel I stayed in Saudi was filled with Nigerians, which was very
What hotel was it?
interesting. The Hilton.
Oh.
It was filled with Nigerians, government officials, and everything. It felt like home in that hotel. At least in that hotel, they felt like home. And we had I think the most interesting part was the government officials. And the kinds of conversations they were having was really interesting. It didn't feel like business as usual. It's like everybody came there with a mandate to come and raise capital. Get investment.
Thank
It
you.
almost felt like everybody had a duty
Yes.
to bring money back of some sort, investment back of some sort. So it was like there was a roster of meetings at the lobby. It became a transactional.
So who are they meeting with? Saudis or fellow Nigerians meeting fellow Nigerians?
The thing is, the entire Saudi financial industry was available, but then there was the finance, the CBN, the Central Bank of France. Switzerland was also there. They too came for their own different things. And I think Nigeria's guys were mixing up and doing all those things. So naturally, as a Nigerian, I started entering meetings. But it was good. It was a good one.
So, I mean, for me, the question is, did you come back with any money or at least?
So
No, because the reason I'm asking is where's the next wave of FDIs coming from?
It's definitely
Is it
there.
from there?
So the thing, what I noticed is that it feels. It feels like they are super stoked about what has happened in most parts of the UAE, especially Dubai.
Yeah.
And they kind of feel they've been left behind. They might want to believe they have more money too. So it's like they're doing everything to bring in as much, attention, as much development to their country.
It could be interesting for them, right? Because, sorry, if you, I
And
also
now they're selling, they were selling all sorts of technology. And I was beginning to question, did this technology originate from here or did they buy IP from somewhere else and bring it into Saudi so that they could sell it out of Saudi? I didn't get it, but those conversations are ongoing.
Just being a devil's advocate, the UAE, that region is known for flash, and how much of it is flash and how much of it
real.
is
Yeah.
because these things are not new in terms of the kind of investment.
Road
conferences
shows.
and
Yeah.
roadshows that happen in that region, and what.
Well,
comes
as
out.
a guy that at some point in his life lived in Yanokpaja, it was a pretty impressive.
Yeah, no.
No, for me, I was saying
For that
it could
reason
be
alone.
it could be interesting, right? Because if you look at I normally liken now to 1995. I've been looking at this Super Bowl cycle, right? That's the Fed rates triggered in 1995, where cheap dollars, dollar was weak, 75 basis point cuts. American looked the same, and then it boosted the Chinese industrial
Revolution,
which
yeah.
then also the Chinese demand also now.
Yeah.
and really push the super cycle, commodity super cycle. So in my mind, it's cheap dollars, rate cuts. There's going to be industrial demand from somewhere, but I don't know where it's going to be. And now, listen to you talk about Saudi Arabia, I'm thinking, will it come from there? Where
we're going to get into that. We're going to get, you know, Arnold is already getting into the groove. We're going to get into that. Everybody, Afi, looks like you're a whiskey fan, aren't you?
Yes, I was actually.
I am. I did say, I don't know if I'm allowed to share, but my dream in life is to actually be a Glenfiddich ambassador.
Whoa!
Wow.
I love whiskey. Yes, I'm like entrepreneur, whiskey lover, brand nerd.
Wait. Let me put this down for a second.
Businesswoman, wife and mom. Like I tell my husband this, he laughs at me all the time. I'm like, it's like of all things you want to do. So when I look at that ad every day, at like the Osborne, when they're turning into Osborne, I'm like, one day I'll be there.
I think that's the app that has the.
I'm putting it out there.
What's this guy's name again?
Yeah, so really cool, really cool. I don't know.
It's that easy or something.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, please make it happen.
Don't make it happen. Don't make it happen.
Yeah.
Because you don't tend to get a lot of
I think I'm a
ladies who
fit.
really like whiskey.
You are sophisticated whiskey.
You are. Lead drop. Make it happen. Lead drop. Make it happen.
I think. So I as concerns business, right? I respect everything in business. I respect it when you're intelligent. I respect it when you are innovative. But one thing that I believe, because people say I'm resilient, right? I don't think I have close to the level of resilience Afi has shown in terms of. I think she single-handedly built that industry in terms of, processed fruits and being able to take it from what it was. I remember the first time I ever saw the fruit at the gym. And I was like, then to seeing it abroad, to seeing it on planes. And every time I see that, I just kind of smile like, I know this person.
Take a flower.
Thank you.
So getting her as a brand ambassador is actually very right on brand.
It is on brand. It is on brand. And I love whiskey. It's not even just the...
All right.
Yeah, well done. Nice.
Fantastic. So, nothing like, seeing the entire gang take whiskey. By the way. Yeah, so makes for a very interesting episode. Episode 4, right? Drinks and Mike season 2.
Yeah.
All right, so we start out. GDP numbers were out during the week.
Can I get my flowers?
Your flowers for what?
I think it was episode 2 or 3.
I thought about that. I thought he was going to forget. Did he call it?
No, but I did.
Are you clapping because you called them people as well? Or what? Like,
Did I call
you're
it?
waiting for like, is that it?
I didn't realize.
Is that it?
No, but I didn't expect a 4% G. When Tunji, I was like,
So what were the drivers? Why? Like,
No, so I do know that everybody looks at Nigeria's GDP computation and sees it from the perspective of the fact that crude oil. So I'm speaking from history.
Okay.
So crude oil contribution to GDP is not as large as non-oil, right? True. But Nigeria is built in such a way that crude oil is the enabler of the non-oil sector. An unstable crude oil sector affects the larger non-oil sector. So a stable production, stable oil prices will always mean that GDP will rise. And we've seen that consistently. And I said those factors. And the thing I was waiting for was a stable FX regime. There's no how. Now I'm even thinking, okay, we said next year. So yeah, definitely 5%. I think we're definitely going to cross it before this administration is done.
what excites you the most about it? About the numbers?
who, me?
Yeah.
What doesn't excite me? Manufacturing. Right. So what is...
I said what excites
That sounded aggressive. I'm so sorry. It's the whiskey. I had a very long day. No, but it's an oil story, right? I mean, but it's nice to see oil back again. But sometimes I feel like the oil curse, we have that oil curse where when oil is doing well, we forget everything else. But I mean, it's nice to see oil coming back again. Oil 20% year on year. Oil contributions to GDP was 4%, which is nice. For me, it's about time reaction more than exciting. It's like it's about time. Barrels 1.4 million barrels per day to 1.6. I'm hoping to see more, but for me, what stood out again is my gripe in manufacturing. I think I've become this, manufacturing industry is also part of the growth in a country, in an economy, right? And it's like, makes me feel like we're not growing in that direction, and we're still skipping to services, and we're still sticking to oil. Seeing manufacturing get 1% year on year, manufacturing contribution go down to 7%, is something that I think we should really start paying attention to and figuring out, because it's going to slip away, and we're allowing it to slip away. So, but it's exciting to see oil.
But do you think that's temporary? Just because all the, for
Factors
manufacturing,
have not
the
come together.
factors have been have aggressively affected that sector. If you look at FX, especially when most manufacturing relies on imports or, power,
interest
all
rates.
sorts. So maybe there's a short-term shock and then a recovery long-term, because then fundamentally, I think that, manufacturing should, the conditions actually should support or encourage manufacturing down the line, just because imports are more expensive and all that stuff, and the devaluation of the currency and things like that should help in some way. So I don't know if it's a short-term thing that could grow.
Yeah,
over time.
I think that, and I hope that, so the manufacturing industry has lost quite a lot, right? So look at the manufacturing industry's research, 2023 to 2024, so about 800 manufacturers shut down. The ones that still exist have been forced to be innovative and find other ways and other things to do, as well as find local sources of things that they would otherwise import. So I like to think that the shake-up has happened, which has helped. It's temporary. I hope it's temporary.
And I think it needs a consistent environment, because your incentives are always skewed when you're either, saving the dollar or, subsidizing the dollar. And then once that's gone, manufacturers leave, and then you do it again and they come back. So I think a kind of stable environment should create a good picture for what we can manufacture and how that sector can grow, I think.
But I tend to say service, it's not like I tend to say, that's what the data shows. Service is basically been what drives Nigerian economy anyways. So why do you expect manufacturing to sort of leapfrog service this soon?
I think from what I've always seen from a macro perspective for so many economies is you can't skip manufacturing, right? So it's part of the development of economies, right? So it's, it starts off as an agricultural rich economy. From agri, you go into industry, you go into processing.
And then you get to services.
Yeah, so it's I don't know of a successful story of any country that has skipped this manufacturing and gone into whatever it is, with a service or whatever it is, and had an extremely successful. It's just going to end up being another imports dependent economy, which is my worry of, okay, we're stable currency wise. If we don't focus on incentives for the SMEs and manufacturers, we're going to go straight to now start importing again and go back to where we were before again. So I think we have to really pay attention to manufacturing. We can't skip.
So Affi, let me ask you, right? I'm used to hearing Tunji and Arnold with all the GDP jargons and, Arnold and Tunji are not like us. So these guys are, Arnold. These guys
if you didn't agree, I would say something. But
they kind of their business model is usually different, right? So when you hear GDP numbers up 4% growing, how do SMEs see this?
Yeah,
what does it mean to you?
To be honest, not much. The only thing I can say is that it maybe is an indicator of a recovery that we're hoping to come. I think that in my 13 years of doing business, I've never seen a slower recovery in terms of consumption. Wow. And my product is not even a necessity. It's a premium product that I used to think our customer base have some disposable income that does not really. But we're seeing that, and it's not just my product. It's footfall in supermarkets. It's, real general, just consumption. So that is taking very, very long. And it makes sense, 40-something% inflation in 1 year. You're not going to see everybody recover. So even the numbers maybe are just like a sign of something to come. But in terms of, recovery, it's been very, very slow. Demand in our retail sector is very bad. It's really bad. It's the worst it's ever been. And I've been here since I came here when the dollar was 160. So I think I faced it. I faced it all. But even devaluation plus removal of all subsidies, which I support, but that bloodbath is still there. People are not. You even see it in offices, like in my office, consumption of like fast food, buying things, consumption
Basically
in general is slower. People are still adjusting.
So Arnold, where's the disconnect then? Like, how do you grow an economy? No, more seriously, like how do you grow an economy in leaps, right? And have consumption numbers sort of be the driver? Because I mean, we all know GDP. GDP is consumption, government expenditure, investments, right? So what if consumption is not sort of driving the sort of growth that we're seeing? I guess it's probably government expenditure and investment. Yeah. What sort of growth levels should we be expecting? Should we really be celebrating 4%? Like now? I mean, like if the US is doing 4%, everybody, the entire world will be happy because that's a very huge economy. So looking at the size of economy that we have, should 4%?
We used to do like the high single digits,
yes,
7, and I think that's what it needs to be for us to start.
Exactly,
feeling it,
I
right?
agree.
So this is maybe an equivalent of a 0.25 or 0.5% in the West, in my view, right? Where for consumers to start feeling rich again, to start spending, buying processed stuff, there needs to be maybe more, maybe either we need to give it more time, right? Because we've just come from a 2%, 3%, 4%, and it maybe takes a while to trickle down to the consumers before we get to the 7-8%. Or there needs to be some sort of incentive from the government to help give consumers more power, which normally, in my view, comes from job creation. And then we need to figure out, okay, how can we then create jobs? I like credits. Then I'm going to go back to credit growth, right?
I'd love that.
Yes, then when the employer feels like tomorrow is going to be good, they borrow. Yeah. Right? Because you know that tomorrow is going to be good, so you're going to borrow. You
borrow with a lot of certainty.
The bank. And the bank also feels like, as I can lend to Real Fruits, Real Fruits is going to expand, and then job creation and everything. So I think that's why I like credits. So mine comes back to lending and credit growth, I guess, which we're going to go into.
Yeah, but Afi, has there ever been a time, you talked about 13 years, so was there ever a time within this period where it did feel like, consumption was pretty high, like people were buying things?
Our products, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've grown dramatically in Naira terms, like, year on year, but we've seen that this year's growth has been very slow. So we have always been able to ride above the wave of, whatever macroeconomic disaster we're facing at the time, and that's because of our customer base, and we would still manage to eke growth. So this year is the first year where that recovery has been very, very slow.
Interesting that is this year.
Very
right?
slow. Yes.
Interesting that is this
And
year.
of course, because also we had to adjust our prices quite aggressively to kind of obviously match the since then, and Salah and Lent and summer holidays, it's been really, really tough. But we've been.
But is this an industry-wide experience then?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think the problem is even just with even people's like movement reducing, right? The cost of fuel. So even footfall in the stores, people's just habits around consumption. They have to be very, very careful. I don't have a car currently, and I've been taking Ubers, and I'm like, oh my God, like the cost of Ubers is crazy. Like, so when I look at those kinds of things, I'm like, wow, like, you gotta be, and I mean, I like at my level, I feel that if I even notice how expensive these things are, how much more the main consumer class of the country, I think.
So can I ask, why did you adjust prices this year? Why not? Last year was more volatile, right? From currency perspective. So why did you take, is it that you absorbed the pain as much as you could?
We did, because it was very volatile last year, and then this year we're like, we talked to our board and we're like, let's just adjust for everything, power, energy, dollar, blah blah blah, and then the other thing that affected our business, which I mean, I don't know if a lot of people face this, is that for the first time the CFA is now stronger than the Naira. Some of our inputs from the West Africa region,
Yeah.
have flipped. The price has flipped because for nothing, for no other reason. Well, by way of devaluation. So there was a lot of pressure on us, and our board just said, take the painful hit now and not do anything really, gradual. And also when you're in the packaged, sort of like formal retail, you can't change your price regularly. You can't just like wake up today and say, oh, my price has changed. You got to write a letter to all your 1,000 stores. They have to approve it. So we had to kind of think about that. So we did that early on in the year, and we're still trying to recover.
Talking about stores, so I mean that's a major distribution channel, and I think there was news last week about one of the major stores. I think it was ShopRite. What did you whisper?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
Let me take a drink.
That's what I was whispering.
One of my sleepless nights.
Yeah. I mean, but not just ShopRite. So we've seen a number of stores kind of struggle.
Yeah.
So does this basically buttress your point that, look, consumption is probably not at the sort of level that it probably was?
Yeah, and also the double whammy there is that some of these stores owe the retailers. Even when we talk about manufacturers and how much they're kind of grinding to a halt, it's all these like death by 1,000 cuts, right? A store that will not be named owes us a lot of money, and at this point, we may need to write it off. But I don't know how many people could afford to chest that sum.
Write it off.
Because I mean,
the accounting has to go on.
I mean, but also I don't, by write it off, I mean, I don't expect it anymore because it's been.
If it comes, then good.
But
default,
it's great there.
But this is why the conversation really, and I always hate to bring up Trump, and
I don't understand where the connection. You know what that's
I'm gonna get there. Earlier on he kept pushing the Fed to cut rates, generally because in the midst of everything, the economy is a cycle. One thing doesn't operate in isolation. So when all of that is going on and the rates are also high, it keeps an imbalance of the economy. The thing with Nigeria right now we need to do is, kudos for the 50 bips. I think it should be more, generally, to be able to stimulate growth within the local economy, because it would benefit a Real Fruits to be able to lend locally, lend in Naira at a very borrow in Naira at a good interest rate, because that will help stimulate a lot more production. It would create more jobs. So generally, the multiplier effect of such a thing is what I'm hoping for. So even on the side of Arnold was saying earlier that maybe we should wait, give it another wait a bit. I'm like, no, it's good right now. Do like what Real Fruits did. Take all the pain right now and then move forward. Because right now you're not thinking about all those the diesel prices. You've now done everything. So
but she's adjusted prices. Right, so that also needs to take its course, right? Because customers now need to also adjust. So you're going to hit
exactly. Has slowed as a result.
What will now happen is either she continues to go into different markets, and she will continue to do that, and those markets will not have those similar worries. Also, with the Nigerian market, I've seen that she's done different sizes now. I know somebody that takes.
Tunji's a Real Fruit fan, though.
No, I am. So I know somebody that takes it with the cereal, right? Puts it in the cereal. So so it's all of that together. You are now opening up to different consumer base in Nigeria, opening to a different consumer. But the idea is that now it can happen because you are no longer looking in the rearview mirror.
Okay, they're looking forward now.
And Nigeria needs to do that. Let's look at everything that needs to be done. Let's do it now and start looking forward so that we are able to stimulate jobs, create local economy, let people start feeling the effects of this GDP growth, and then we can grow a better economy.
But to the reason that what's kind of happening now, where things have happened.
No, I'm saying that those things that have happened are not the full picture.
It's not enough.
It's not about it not being enough. I'm saying it's not the full picture. For instance, the rate cuts should have happened earlier. It's part of the equation.
Yeah, we'll get to the rate cut,
Yeah.
but something else I would just wanted to talk about, because she's talked a lot about the domestic market, and then you did mention CFA weak now, stronger than the naira. So doesn't that also create opportunities for the export market? Because sometimes, as tough, I was going to say as bad, but as tough as some of those decisions were, maybe decision to unify the exchange rate and float it. Sort of high interest rate environment that we're in, removal of fuel subsidy that has basically triggered all these price increases. Does that then make businesses like yours more competitive outside Nigeria?
Absolutely, it does. It does. And obviously, we're taking advantage of that. So in less than a year, export is now a massive chunk of my business, and local retail. Like last year, I think it was like maybe 80-20 or 85-15, and now it's kind of almost flipping the other way around.
Wait, does it 80-20 to now
local?
20?
So 80 local before,
yes.
and now it's flipping.
Yes.
That's
I mean, there are a few reasons why. I know the headline sounds great, but there are a few reasons why.
Okay.
Primarily because we just started like large scale production, and in my industry, you need scale to get the kind of customers that we already were targeting all along. So now that we have that scale, the customers are not difficult to target. So that's why it's flipping.
So wait, you're exporting now
Yeah.
outside Nigeria?
No, she's been exporting
a lot.
for a while.
We actually
But
export
I
more
thought
than we sell.
it wasn't. How are you doing that? Like,
Yeah, that's been.
What do you mean, why is
it's
she
been
doing
a
that?
while. It's been,
I thought it was difficult. Like some of the info that I've gotten is that like exporting is tough. Like you can't export.
I wish I could
it's
actually
difficult
do.
to export.
If I could give time to talk about the exports and
There's
do like
time.
a podcast,
I want to hear it.
I
Sorry,
can't.
please
It's
talk.
there's so much detail, but fundamentally, I think that this narrative
Affiong
about
on the coffee table, please, guys, go on.
fundamentally, I mean, because I didn't just start exporting today. I'm going to claim it, the first company from Nigeria to list on Amazon in 2019. And that was exports.
Wow.
And literally from there, I used to air freight my product and truck it to Amazon's warehouse from Lagos, from Nigeria. And so the challenges are around people aligning their products and markets and the markets and customer bases in these.
Can you explain?
Because at different stages of your scale, some markets are open to you and some are not. So now we can export to big companies. So our product's actually going into a European supermarket chain, which I'm very, very proud of. But before that, it was, do half a container load or air freight to a particular customer. But what was most important is that we understood the market. We understood like how to get the product to that type of customer. If you look at the US, it's a very deep market. I sell my product in stores that nobody will know. And in fact, we're about to launch in like a 5,000 chain store in the US. But that is a unique market that I had to, find and pick based on my realities and based on our capacity. So what people say is difficult is the fact that they have not studied which opportunities are open to them at a particular time. 10 years ago, I was still putting my stuff in suitcases and selling to people abroad, but that's what I could do. And to scale that and move that, you need to kind of learn the market.
How do you get into these markets? Because I mean, we've heard, so the US market, European markets, these are like some of the most difficult markets to get into.
Are they? Are they? They're easier than getting to Ghana.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Wow.
they are. In
Yes.
terms of straight up delivery, in terms of
I thought they had all these regulations and all that. I mean,
no.
I've been to seminars where they say, look, products from Nigeria don't
Again,
meet certain standards and blah, blah, blah,
that's
blah.
true,
That's
but
why you can't get into those
That's
markets.
true, but it depends on your customer. There's so many people who say, oh, well, I can't get into the US. I'm like, the US is one of the easier, actually more easy markets to get into. It's what your customer requires that you must meet. So some customers require you to have some international certifications, but the country itself does not prohibit your product from getting in without a particular certification. And that goes for Europe as well. So again, I think it's a lack of knowledge, and I'm not making it sound easy because it's very competitive.
Yeah.
You're going into the most competitive market in the
So
world.
compete with all
But
sorts
it's
of,
open. It's open. It's about you understanding how to get to your end customer and playing the game you can afford. Like the US is very competitive. They have tons of products you've never even dreamt of. So how do you find your niche?
Yeah.
That's what you need to invest time doing
So
in any market.
So is this basically like the blueprint now? So for a lot of, I mean, I'm not saying because your successor means others will be. But is this sort of like a blueprint where local manufacturers in Nigeria who are operating under this very difficult environment should probably start to look outwards?
That's what we hope they will do. Please, if you are not already doing it,
they should. And the thing is, unfortunately, I mean, I followed this economist called Ricardo Hausmann, who used to say, like, don't only focus on what you have competitive advantage to do. You know, and the economy needs complexity and doing things it hasn't done before. So also what Nigerians tend to do, which is that you pick a product that you eat locally or you know locally and try to get into an international market. And I think we need to flip that on its head a bit. When I started doing dried fruit, there's no market here for it. And certainly nobody would have thought Nigeria was a country that we could be with high diesel, high manufacturing costs, that we could compete globally to do dried fruit globally, but it can be done. And so I also think that people should not only look at what are we good at doing. Oh, we have lots of them, you know, Gary, let's try sell cassava flakes to Americans. No, don't do that. Go, I say rather find a market and see if you can actually produce something that, you know, that is not done here. I mean, again, there's a lot of nuance, and if I don't want to, I will kill the whole conversation talking for hours about it. I'm very passionate about the fact that exports need to be demystified, and again, entrepreneurs need to be market focused. They need to look at your customer and find that person and kind of.
What about the port congestion and stuff?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that people say. Yeah, people say, oh, you can't export because it's going to sit at the port, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the port's it's actually much easier to export than to import products and clear them. So, you know, challenges are mainly around delays with shipping lines coming, not that the process of exporting is actually hard. It's actually way easier, and the paperwork is actually less.
I'm going to say because you kind of blew my mind with something you said. You said, you said to not focus on the things that we have locally and export, but just focus on a global product, because that's something I've never really thought of. I always think of, let's look at something Nigerian, something African and export that, right? But you've actually said...
That's not the only way. Like it has a place. Like I believe in, you know, maybe even... I believe in competitive advantage when it comes to like primary agriculture. Grow what you can grow first. That will solve, that will keep a lot of people employed. But when you think of exports, like let's even talk of like BPO, Nigerians don't need like business process outsourcing. You can set those things up for global markets. There's we need a competitive advantage. We need this, we need that. There's figuring out the dynamics of the industry and trying to get it done. Similar with, you know, products, for instance. So I think there's that mindset that needs to shift around, you know.
So now as you're saying this now, so I'm thinking if things have now been flipping into more exports than local markets. So I mean, that sounds like that's dollars.
Yes, like, absolutely.
Yeah, that is.
In fact, I was going to say that GDP growth is this side.
No, so I'm just asking. So the current FX regime that we have now, like the exchange rate devaluation, how does that serve you then? I don't want to call it a devaluation.
Could work better.
It works for you, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
It works for her in a sense. But we're saying you can explain.
If the Naira was weaker.
Last year the Naira was 1.8 and we were like,
of course,
we were smiling.
You feel that, of course.
But you know, I'm not allowed to wish for a weak Naira because I'll be burnt at the stake. So I defer to whatever the government believes is the thing to do. But yeah, certainly.
I mean, so economists have always said it's a weak local exchange rate always favors exports.
To an extent, like if you look at Ghana, their currency strengthened hugely and exporters were crying. I mean, it's really because your pricing and all of that is also hedged against a particular price. And if you're not getting the, you know, consumer local currency does affect you. But generally, it's profitable to export with a weakened.
So are there any things like that the government can put in place to make it easier for exporters?
No, yeah, good question. Like, was there any role government-wise in your export journey, like, or even local banks? Because I see there are banks doing seminars every day on exports from one part to the other. So sometimes I wonder, like, and banks are not lending. So I'm like,
I mean, we've
are these all
definitely, I'm not
jamborees?
going to speak badly. We've gotten some concessionary loans, which help with obviously buying working capitals in my industry. A lot of it is like cash and carry, which as you can imagine, you'll have to buy a lot of raw material up front. So we have gotten, but we can only do that with concessionary loans. With regular bank loans, we will not be profitable doing that. So yeah, we have been able to get
See why we need to cut rates?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So Tunji, let me ask you. Yes, exports do well when the currency is weak. How do you balance it? So, I mean, because this is Affi. There are probably maybe a few others who are exporting and doing pretty good, but there are many others that are not. And so, as regular Nigerians, we can't wait long enough to see the benefit of a weak currency quote, which is export. So, where's the balance then? Because I don't. Is this why China has two currencies? I don't know. Like, where's the balance?
No, I don't think so. The balance for me, as great as Cardi B and his team have done. Sorry. That slipped. That slipped.
Cardi B.
Jesus.
I forgot Cardi B.
Cardi B.
They should come and pick you up.
Saudi Arabia did you well.
Come on, Cardi B's address.
Go on.
So as much as they've done, I think there needs to be a bigger handshake with. I know that they do work hand in hand with the finance ministry, but there needs to be a proper grand master plan that all of us need to know. I don't like this, giving bits and pieces. We all need to know what this thing is.
What thing?
No, but is it
This road to $1 trillion economy that you keep talking about? How does rates?
I keep talking about.
Use you now. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what they said. So how do rates tie into it?
I thought that was you. Sorry, no, me.
How do rates tie into it? How does manufacturing tie into it? Because manufacturers are ready to. Farmers, as in the industrial farmers, are looking to do more. They actually want to do a lot more. Now, how do we all come into this grand picture? And then I know that because the government is going to do X, Y, Z, I can then take 1, 2, 3 to meet this place. You get it? It allows us plan better. But the thing right now is that we're all walking in the dark. That's what I feel. Well, there's a lot of hope. It looks like it's getting, it feels like it's getting better. Maybe we hope that, but if there was a plan, and really it's why it's important that there's a plan, and not that there's just a plan. A plan we all know, at least in as little as you want to share with us. If we can get that clarity, Affi can plan better.
May I chip in just to buttress that point? Because, when we're talking about, like, obviously my exports now to the US come with tariffs that were not there before. And with AGOA ending, there's going to be more tariffs. And when I was looking at the posture of the finance minister Minister for Trade, and the conversation, there was a lot of like, it was clear that the decision was not to kind of negotiate with the US, which is fine. But my question was why? What would be the alternative? So if I'm not covered, which is a strategic imperative of the country, you choose which industries you want to focus on, then, where is the opportunity? What is the strategy? Because I'm paying more now, technically reducing my market access to that country, but why? And for which other industries benefit from what you're doing? So right now, if I were to say what I think the government's plan is, it's oil and gas, it's dry oil and gas. That's the only industry that I see.
So how will the tariffs affect you? I mean, I guess I know, but it's just good to hear you articulate how it will affect you and if you have any plan around it.
Yeah, our plan is to pass it on, which most people are doing, but that also comes with a limit of market, right? Because American consumers, even though they live off credit, we love them. They are consumers to the core, but there's only so much they can accept from all the other tariff increases. So we are passing on we're passing on tariffs, and even now some business that we were trying to conclude, there's like, no, let's wait and see. There's so much uncertainty, but the tariffs have already started applying to our products.
How much tariffs?
So it's going to be 15%, which was what was slapped on us. And then AGOA is also ending, which was the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which meant that every product coming into the US. So there's a country tariff, and then there was the AGOA that supported us. That's ending September 30th. So after that, I think we're looking at another 5% tariff importing dried fruit to the US. Yeah.
So that's like but doesn't that? So how do you? I would think that you're probably going to look at this from the point of view of the countries or the products that you're competing with. So if the products coming from those countries have higher tariffs, then that shouldn't be.
Yeah, so that could work in an advantage, but again, it's not clear. Like our competing countries, especially China and co, it's not clear where the tariffs are. A lot of the products, our competing products to the US, come from Mexico, Thailand, China. So those things are still not as certain. Yeah, so you don't know whether.
And to your point, that's where government comes, because typically you would expect government to say, "Look, you know what? We're not going to this tariff." No. You understand what she's saying? She's saying, look, if the government is saying, you know what, our policy is not to negotiate with the US on tariffs, then the government should say, however, this is our plan, right? So for manufacturers, these are the sort of countries that we know that most of our exports compete with and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, basically just come up with something. So there's nothing like that. That's what she's saying.
Because this is FX earned for the country.
Whichever
way you want to look at it. Right? Yes. So if you know as a government that this is FX earned and you've decided for whatever reason you're not going to negotiate with the US, then you must now look at your manufacturers to say, okay, we've decided not to negotiate with the US. Let them have their way. But this is what we're now going to do to support you. So, I mean, it is imperative that Grand Master Plan must be told to all of us. My worry, and this is a big worry, I do not think there is a Grand Master Plan.
But it's a Grand Master Plan for elections, though.
Well, that is clear. That is clear.
But no Grand Master Plan.
I think it's revolved around oil and gas. That's all. That's the posture I see. I see a lot of interest and effort in that sector. And that's, I mean, for now.
Yes, you can see that it's stable.
It's been pushed.
That's my worry.
So there really isn't any Grand Master Plan. So no Grand Master Plan. I mean, I like that.
In fact, I heard whispers that
for manufacturing,
the fertilizer subsidy may be removed, which was like, okay, that's. I heard a rumor about that, and I was like, that's
because all these things work together. You can't treat anything in isolation. It needs to be seen as one moving entity.
So the current government doesn't have any manufacturing.
Yeah, but sometimes I often wonder, even as I hate to go into government, but perhaps maybe an administration can only focus on one thing.
No,
right? And let's just get our oil back up.
Not Manchester United.
Okay, let's also sort out the effects. So at least let's get those.
But
and then the next guy.
But that's what the Grand Master Plan is, because the Grand Master Plan says, you know what, the first 3 years are going to be our focus, and then. Maybe it exists though, but I feel let's just move into something else. We also did see the central bank meet this week and decide to cut monetary policy rate. I don't know if it's something that you track, but I know Tunji and Arnold wake up every day arguing. In fact, Arnold has been making so much noise because he got his spot on for the first time.
And he got special mention on all
even
TV
got
stations.
Special mention, I wrote to mention him, and his head has been swelling since then. So they cut rates by 50 basis points from 27.5% to 27%. Before I get to them, let me start from you.
We are not borrowing at 27%. So I don't even know. I can't. That does not move me at all. Yeah, we cannot afford that. We have all the.
What's the cheapest you've ever borrowed? Nigeria.
What's
like within these 30
now,
years?
17%.
So you've seen 17%.
So does 17% work for you? Or is it still...
Yeah, for working capital, yes, because the idea is that it's short term. We're not actually using the entire 17%. But yeah, that's the cheapest we've gotten there, which I don't want to... No, that's actually recent. Okay. That's actually recent.
Oh, recent from a commercial bank?
Yes, but it was facilitated by a...
collateral.
No. Yes, it was collateralized, but it's...
was it concession?
It's a concessionary loan from one of the agencies, like one of the government agencies.
And obviously for us to get 17% at the commercial bank, then monetary policy rate must be...
like 12.
Yeah.
So,
I think
12.
No, she's saying recently, so that means it's...
No, but it was concessionary.
It's not...
So, but typically bank loans are like 35.
Yeah, 35%.
36%.
Even when you're, like, even if you're trying to
So how
guarantee it, is
then
it?
does manufacturing then have a larger impact on GDP?
It can.
That's
When-
why
Yeah, it
hold on,
can.
You're not a manufacturer.
It can.
What does this? So
plan to be.
yeah, there's something I always want to find out, right? I want to find out. So now, interest rates pretty high, exchange rate devalued. How do manufacturers see this twin policies? Like, from your own point of view, what does it really mean for your business? Positively, negatively?
I mean, the interest rate part is really the one that we, if you focus on, for me anyways, because we are not really importing a lot of our raw materials. I think the Naira part is the FX rate is more pertinent to those who are importing their raw materials. So when you have interest rate that high, you can't, it can't even really be that effective as a working capital, instrument to help you drive or grow your business, because you make plans, man proposes, and then God and Nigeria disposes. So even when you say, okay, I have a 3-month project, blah, 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 usually doubles. And then before you know it, you're like not making profit, or there's some, change in some cost, etc. So for us, the interest rate is really high, which is why we have to always chase after concessionary debt. And that is obviously there's more demand than supply.
Yeah.
So you're always in like
Then a
calling
queue.
the bank, and you're like, when is it dropping? When is it dropping? So yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, we've also raised private equity, so that has really helped us. So we're not only depending on debt for growth. In fact, for a lot of our business, we've used equity.
But we hear
to
equity
fund
is
that.
even more expensive now, isn't it?
Available or expensive? I feel that, it's, that the conventional wisdom is that it's more expensive than debt. Actually, I have a contrary view to that, but
Really?
it's not as available as it used to
it's
Was
be.
it a local investor? A Nigerian investor?
No, it's not. I mean, it's a Nigerian investor, but obviously they raise from foreign LPs. Alithia, I'm allowed to say them.
Yeah,
Alithia
sure.
Identity Fund is my
Yeah,
They're great
Alithia.
investors. So
They
I have
are.
to shout them out. They're fantastic,
They are.
fantastic partners. And yeah, so that has really, really even carried us through this very challenging period. Yeah.
I need to say private equity is not getting as much credit in terms of driving the Nigerian economy
Yeah. You're
as
very
it should
correct.
be. There are a lot of success stories. There's one
lot,
one very big gym chain franchise that is popular in Nigeria. It's probably the
Say the
biggest
name.
franchise. iFitness.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
Got
Great.
in private equity, were able to grow
Exit, yeah.
aggressively. You see a few of even companies like eTransact, you have private equity going in there. You have
private equities
Global
have existed
Accelerex.
for the last
So
20,
when-
30
when,
years.
When
I know
you
a whole
look
lot
at
of
when you look at where they go into, and then you see what happens to those companies and how they're able to ride through bad times, you do realize that a lot of these people in the private equity space know Nigeria well enough to price in and in at such a price that doesn't kill the business, but at the same time is able to help grow the business to the next level. So I think we don't give it as much credit. We keep talking about banks, because if we really talk about it, I don't think banks have really grown much of Nigeria.
But what would
as
they
we
do,
think it
Tunji?
should.
So you were not happy with, obviously not happy with the fact that we kept interest rate this long.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I
it's been
wasn't.
about a year.
Yes.
But I mean, what else could they have done?
Do
you think rates should have been cut maybe even more aggressively than the
Yes.
50 bips?
For
Really?
taking this long, you've held. There was no reason why you held it this long.
No reason.
So let me say this. Let me say this. Right. Let me say this. Two things. We understand, and the conversation from the CBN's, from the monetary policy side, has always been inflation. Now, I know that the people that sit on the monetary policy committee are smarter than I am, and I can tell them that inflation in Nigeria is structural. I mean, they are smart.
No, but Tunji, I don't think. Wait, now, wait.
I'm not-
But the rate hike that we've seen,
Yes.
has it really been about inflation? Or
A lot
more
of the talk
or
about
more
keeping
now?
it high.
Or
talk
more
is
about
inflation.
Omo, I know,
the
but
talk-
I mean,
the central bank rhetoric is
reality-wise
inflation,
now.
though.
So
This is why I always like Otumba here.
Are you
Otumba,
saying they were lying?
But can I
No, are you
just
saying they were
go
lying?
back a little bit? Sorry. Sorry.
you shouldn't cheer for Otumba. I don't understand.
I know that.
It's Tunji and Arnold.
So it's just 'cause your business really, really interests me, and
Thank you.
Yeah, and because real business, I'm an investor, and we are investors, and I'm an asset manager. Is there a reason why? Because a lot of businesses started to look at commercial papers, right? Is there a reason why? Because commercial papers are cheaper than bank loans, right? So I've seen over the past 2 years, especially over the hike of huge plethora of commercial papers on the supply side, I guess, from my side. And it's cheaper than 35%. You can get it for like 23%, 24%, even Dangote's. Is there any reason why you didn't go for commercial paper?
Yeah, primarily, well, two reasons. One, because, of course, we raised equity, and that was, we were kind of investing that over the last 2 or 3 years. And two, I think we have a strong chance of getting concessionary loans. So, for instance, if you look at Nexim, which is an export-import bank where we're in deep conversations with, we can get a 10% loan. And because they're not that,
Naira.
there's not 10% interest, 10% interest,
Yeah.
yes, on Naira.
Oh, wow.
And most of our cost is for working capitals to buy fruit, really, to process. So we are pushing to try get inroads into those instruments, the local concessionary loans, because we have a strong chance. We are, supporting local economy. We're in export, which a lot of companies are not. So that's why we focused on concessionary debt, and we seem to have a good story to support that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the main reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So CPs will be like last resort.
Yeah.
They're still
very
deals on
expensive.
it.
If you get 10% Narrow, then
I
We're
mean,
trying,
like,
we're trying,
That's
we're trying,
impressive.
yeah.
I'll take it. I'll go and give you.
bring it. Sorry.
Anyway,
Sorry.
talking about interest rate, banks released some of the banks released their results recently. GT, UBA, Zenith, and blistering numbers, 600 billion plus or so in profits, I think, for GT, Zenith. And so on the back of this high interest rate environment that we're seeing, banks are minting a lot of profit. Afi,
Yeah, but it's not from interest. It's not from loans, though.
where is it from?
You tell me. No, because
fixed
you
income securities, we know,
the
treasury bills and
loan
all.
deposits, right? Loan
Yeah.
deposits for GT was 29%, UBA 31%. So it's not from loan growth. It's
Yeah.
3%, 4%.
Yeah.
What's that? It's the same thing. We're talking about private credit growth in the industry about being 3.1%.
So Afi, are
it's not
banks
from-
lending? I'm not talking about you now because you've already explained how you're getting your funding, but from maybe, I guess, people in your space.
Yeah.
Are banks lending?
I think they want to lend. I just don't think there's a lot of appetite at that, at the at the interest rate that they're lending at. And the other thing is the requirements, I think, are getting a lot more stringent. So there's a lot more. The requirements I get.
Really? What are they asking for? The
The
fathers,
same thing, the same things.
Chop off your
No,
kneecap.
the same things, but because I don't know if you've ever tried to take a loan at the bank. It is an experience of like. Oh
It's
my
very-
God.
it's
It is
very
very
invasive.
funny. It's a very funny experience because a lot of it is like behind the scenes. A lot of it is like, you move and then you stop and then you do this and you maneuver. But I think because of, this, obviously the environment we're in, the banks are getting a lot more stringent in enforcing, let's say, their policies around how they get I don't think there's enough appetite at that
for
the commercial loans.
But for an asset manager, this is why quite a few asset managers are coming out with private credit funds, right? FCMB launched private debt.
That's a bank.
Funds. No, FCMB
That's
asset
asset
management.
management.
They actually
Okay.
launched, and a couple of products coming out from my side too that will, because for asset managers, it's an opportunity.
We didn't miss it. We didn't miss it.
It's an opportunity because
But it's okay.
it's an opportunity for private. I know we talked about private equity, but it's also a big hole for private debts, right? For guys like you, maybe you might not get 10% from us, but we'll try to actually look for to actually supply loans at cheaper rates.
But how does that
than
work
banks.
How does that work for you guys though? Because if you're in an environment where interest rates are not
But this is why we want NPL to go
30%.
down.
I know I'm coming. So you're in an environment where interest rates are over 30%. Cost of equity is still over 30% as well. Even though he says she kind of thinks equity is cheaper than debt, which in Nigeria I kind of think it's cheaper than debt. Yes, because of how high
cheaper is the
interest
wrong
rates are.
metric because cheap is the wrong metric is what I
Really?
would say. I'd say equity gives you peace of mind a little bit, gives you time to
but-
grow. But if you're
Equity is debt you don't have to pay back.
Yeah. But the cheapness of equity is usually in the control that you give up, right? Especially when you
Depends on your
job
partner.
site.
Depends on your
That's
financing
usually-
partner, and you know, people say, then we go back to the question of what is the worth of something, like a small, big ownership of
10%
a
of-
small pie versus small
yeah.
ownership of the big pie. And in this economy, you need stability, you need runway. And what I find is that most people take bank debt to do what bank debt is not meant to do.
for,
That is why you always have these
All those
huge,
bank
like,
failures.
and then people come and cry. Interest rates are killing. Well, you weren't really meant to build a factory with bank debt. Like you can't do that. So I think
so
because of the
short-term.
dearth of capital, people tend to misuse bank debt because you have no other choice. Well, who else is going to give me money to buy that small machine? And then you realize, capex can't turn it over.
Which
into
is why I'm
capital.
wondering
also-
how Arnold and his community think this is an opportunity.
Yeah, but
because
to answer
like-
your question, right?
No,
you can
but
look,
But
you can
there's a
look at real
working capital
returns.
component
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
you can
business
look at
as
real
well.
return,
That
inflation.
So
requires
where are they
debt.
going to be? So imagine. So Arnold's has a fund for providing credit to manufacturers, right? So Arnold is probably pulling that fund from me, right? People like us. So he pulls the fund from us. I'm expecting the return that is obviously
That's because you're
higher than
greedy.
inflation.
That's because you're greedy.
Greedy?
No, I'm okay. Yes, higher than
What?
inflation. Yes, but one thing that a lot of people might not have noticed is when the NPR came out 50 basis points lower, bank placements also reduced, right? So if the placements any tier 2 bank give me or tier 1 bank overnight, so Monday, Tuesday to today, it's gone down. So and inflation now, everyone's now also looking at inflation. So in real terms, your expected return will also reduce, right? Because you've seen inflation go from 21, 22%, now it's 20%, and I'm seeing 18% and 17 and hopefully 15% by the end of the month. So I can then lend at mid-20s because I know inflation is at 18%. And I know that if I place the money in the bank, the placements of us has also gone down because NPR has gone down. So it helps. NPR, from my perspective, is actually going to help.
But I've seen a lot of organizations enter the CP market. There's one school I know raised
quite a lot.
capital. There's a fintech that raised $1 billion for onward lending.
it's quite a
So
lot.
it's you're
Yes,
seeing that
it's
happen, and the banks.
So is it a threat to banks then?
So the thing about the way Nigerian banks are built is I'm not entirely sure they are actually banks. Maybe we need to give them a new name because they don't really do banking.
What's banking? Like what else are they meant to do?
So banking
Are they meant
really
to give you money to
traditionally,
build a factory? Like
traditionally
you said?
banking is I keep your money, I use it to lend to this person pays back, I give you back. So I give you a bit of interest on your cash, so I keep the economy going. So it's like I just take a little off the cream that circulates around. What we have right now is people charging fees on everything that happens, and we do a lot of transactions.
This is where I want to now sound like Shegun. Like, one of the back end, what are you saying?
But that is the truth. That is the truth.
What are you saying?
Because you just talked about the results of those banks. We know they didn't lend compared to their capacity.
but isn't that
But
happening?
isn't that as a factor of the environment?
Exactly.
We're
That's what I'm saying. So like what else do you
I want the
expect them to
banks to be
do?
risky with my money.
So what I'm saying is that let's call them something else. Let's call them something else because the opportunity that has been
But how can you
created
say
for
banks
asset
are not
managers.
lending and we are seeing banks writing down 2-3 trillion over the last 2 years in bad loans? We've seen
Isn't
that.
that
happen.
obligo? This isn't that single obligo stuff.
It doesn't matter. They
You're
are,
lending
they
to
are
one
basic.
guy. That's what it is.
It's not just single.
It's one guy. But it's true.
Sad as it sounds, it's kind of true though.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. But it's lending. It's still lending. It's banking. Maybe that's what defines the banking that Tunji has been looking for.
We should give them a new name. I don't know what we give them, but what they are doing is definitely not banking because it's if you created such a space where I have one of the asset managers, he sends me deal flow like regularly. I don't know why he sends it to me, Sha, because I'm like, he's like, oh, this new CP has just opened up. This school is trying to raise.
Banks send a lot of those things. So are you saying that's what they do now? Like,
as in,
Those CPs
They
going
sell
out, and a lot of
CPs
guys
as
well.
roll over there.
I'm like, hey, why you what guy? But honestly, sometimes I think about the opportunity they're sending to me. Because like the last one I saw that really piqued my interest was a school. I think they have like 3 branches in Lagos, and it looks like they want to expand more. And I know that schools, the demand for schools is increasing, right? So if they're going to open up new branches or maybe increase facilities and, charge parents, well, we are always going to pay because this school is one of the top tier ones. The money's going to come back. So, it just kind of I did the math in my head, like, okay, this is a good opportunity. But
but also what that tells you, the fact that there are a lot of guys issuing CPs means that a lot of guys looking for opportunities to lend to businesses. There's a lot of asset managers, not just institutional investors, rather retail investors. So we get demand from investors that they call me to say, they heard there's a CP, a particular CP. So there's liquidity that wants to lend, right? At CP prices at 23% for 6 months or 9 months. So there's money that actually wants to lend to these businesses.
So I don't know, with all this money that we see around, at least based on the data that we see, do you foresee interest rates at 15% at some point? And if it does, how does that help? So. How does that help the CP market?
I hope so. It just
because it helps. I don't know. If you give it, would you give an asset manager your money to invest at say 7% interest rate per annum?
Don't you do it in the US?
Isn't that what we want here?
Don't you
would you do that?
Depends. It depends on inflation. It depends on. Fair enough. It depends on the environment. It's not one. It's not one thing. You're just looking at the the interest rate. You're looking at what's that? Is that beating inflation, etc. Because that's that's what I would look at. But I'm not a money person. I'm not good with money.
Let's switch to taxes. A lot of things I've also seen this year is taxes, right? So you've seen the new tax laws that has recently been signed by the government or by the president, and a lot of it kicking in next year. Are you fidgeting? Any challenges that you see down the road?
This is where my ignorance will show. In my mind, I've actually tried to be in several sessions to understand a lot of the implications of this tax law. But when we look at these policies, my first skepticism is around how it's implemented and if it can be, because even today, I can't speak too freely about some of the negotiations and the issues that we're having around even implementing current tax policy. It always seems like it's malleable. So I don't know. Maybe because I've been in it for too long, I tend to think like everything comes down to the negotiation.
But for your business, how do you see it? Or how has it affected your business? And then going forward.
So funny enough, by some stroke of luck, my products are VAT free. So that's
wow. Oh wow!
That's,
how so? Is it
2019 finance law? I don't know what got into the president. I'm thankful for that. But generally, that's one thing.
So that's an incentive that helps.
But again, this was by mistake.
I don't know. But applying it is where the challenge is. Applying it is where the challenge is, because to get that, to get that enforced has been more challenging than you can think. Like that, okay, something is clearly written in law, and then you go to, to apply it, and there's all these stories. So for me, I just look at it as like, can these things be implemented? I know that there's a lot of, even for me as somebody who owns equity, capital gains and things like that, those are all kind of longer term issues. We'll
fix it when we get there. Yeah. I'm not really that worried.
Tunji, you're not about tax laws?
I'm not, but I wanted to say something, and it struck me in Saudi, and I said it earlier. I was listening to a Saudi local, a few of them, were talking, and remove his face, remove his accent. you would think you were talking to a Nigerian with the level of entitlement they have, the locals in Saudi, the level of entitlement they had from their government. It was like, the government needs to do this, the government needs to do that. The government needs to create this for us. And it's the way you hear Nigerians speak about. So Nigerians generally expect Nigeria to improve without them paying taxes. Now, thieving politicians have made it difficult to explain to Nigerians that tax is an important part of growth. So it's very difficult to have that conversation. But I really want to break it to the average Nigerian, and I want to look them in the eye. We don't get money. As in, I don't know how to say it. As in, I have to say it in pidgin. We don't have money because, first of all, the Saudi person who can have that entitlement because they produce about 9 million barrels per day. There are about 35 million people. Nigeria produces about 1.5 million. We're 200 million.
So give us a little bit more. What's our GDP number?
Oh yeah, 1.6. In fact, I give you 1.7. But we're 2 million people, 200 million people. So we do not have we're in real terms, we're a piss poor country from revenue
what
compared
has that got to do with holding
so,
your
no, what I'm
government
saying is that
accountable?
it's not. That's the point. Hold them accountable. But what I'm saying is that we need to accept the fact that if we must move forward, taxes must be a part of that conversation. How those taxes are then implemented is something completely different. How those taxes are monitored is something completely different. But I think the way I've seen the pushback on the tax conversation is almost like, why are they telling us that we have to pay tax? Well, I mean,
no,
but the equation everywhere is like, what is government doing about its spending?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even in the US, you've effectively increased tax, and you're like, oh, we need to cut down our debt. That's why we're putting all these tariffs. But like, government spending is out of control, and like that is for me always going to be the first posture that needs to be taken by any government.
The Nigerian conversation is that we're a very wasteful country from the leadership down. We're very wasteful in everything we do. Even the celebrations, you can always see how wasteful we are. And that's not going to change.
We like that though.
Yeah, that's not going to change anytime soon. It's not going to change anytime soon. What I'm saying is, and this is not me advocating for any government. I'm just saying we need to understand that the conversation of taxes, and everybody's aloof from the it's almost like they've come to kill us again. But yeah, I shall do your thing. But I think we need to be more involved. Very few people understand this new tax law in totality because we just see it as another, they've come again. And when they shall come, I shall pay them what they desire. That's how I was about to say something. Thank God I caught myself. I caught myself before I said it. That's how we find agencies come out and then one law is passed and then the agency comes and blocks your office and says you must pay something. And then you're like, when did they pass this ridiculous law?
Yeah,
and it was probably,
we need to pay attention to it. Yeah.
So we need to pay attention.
I'm hearing Tunji and I'm really upset already. Like, I really am like pissed.
Why? No. Why? I mean, I'm a tax guy.
Yeah,
so,
because like,
I love it when I see that. I get the email every time I pay my tax. I feel like I'm doing my part for society. No, actually, I'm really big because I really feel like I'm doing my part.
This is what I face. I feel.
Is this? Do you live in England or something?
Yeah, you do. No, I'm being serious. I feel when I get that FIRS. Then I get that email. I really feel like, that text as well. I feel like I'm doing my part for society. It's just that. No.
It's laudable.
Wow, it is.
Yeah, it's laudable.
We believe we're with you.
I mean, LIRS, if you need someone to tax, he's happy to give more.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. So, but I feel, look.
Because then I can demand.
I know.
I can now
there are clear cases of companies complaining about multiple taxation, and it's still happening.
But isn't that what what's his name, Taiwan is committing?
Yeah.
That's what they claim that's going to change. But that's the situation, and that's what I'm asking. So you've seen the law, but what else is going to change? So you have federal taxes on one hand, and you have state taxes. You're in business, so you're producing stuff, right?
But isn't that what the joint tax board
You're
is
not
supposed
seeing.
to do?
I was speaking to somebody recently, right, in the manufacturing in another country, and the person is saying, "Look, I've got my council people come to me several times to tell me, how's your business going? How you doing? Are there any support that you need?" what do we want? What can we do to like support your business and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Where is that happening? I don't know. Have you experienced it before?
I actually have. And
Sorry, say that again. Someone's come up to us how they can support your
I
business.
must. I don't know. Am I
That's
allowed
your
to
tax
shout out
naira
states?
work.
Am I allowed to shout out
But
states?
That's what tax narrow
Ogun
work.
State is the best state for manufacturing, in my view.
Ogun State?
Yes, Ogun State is
And they have-
very supportive, pro manufacturer. Having
Why?
operated in Lagos versus Ogun, because I think it's part of a strategy.
It's
It's
a
actually
strategy,
part
yes.
of
Yeah.
a statewide agenda to take
Compared
manufacturing
to
from
Lagos.
Lagos,
From
and
Lagos, yes. Yeah.
even the roads that have been built. I believe they're strategic. We are in an industrial cluster where we run on gas, so we actually are benefiting from infrastructure and investments that have been made prior. And even there is an agency that supports your entry into the state, and that agency has been very helpful to me.
That's a tax
So
narrow work.
so there are some states that are serious. And I think when we're talking about business agenda for Nigeria federal, I actually would love to see more states be
do
more
something like that.
intentional about how they're attracting industry and people into the state. And I think Ogun State is doing a very good job of that. So I'll shout
And by
them out.
extension,
And
Nigeria.
Which other states again?
there's some states in the north that
Tunji I'm
offer
asking, since
land,
Tunji's,
there
which
are
other
some.
Okay. Let's keep naming, like, that's 1 out of 30.
Yeah, that's one at
36.
30. I can't name any other. I only know the one that.
I can't. But Ogun State has.
Rose
I
of
can't.
She has said Ogun State.
I can't. No. Ogun State, yes. Ogun
They're
State.
great.
What about Lagos that you operate in Lagos?
No, we can't talk about
When the
Lagos.
roads flooded.
We can't talk, we can't talk about it.
But what's wrong with Lagos, though? What's wrong with
the
Lagos? Like,
flooding, was it
is it
2
flooding?
days
Are we talking about
ago?
tax or flooding?
Yeah.
Which one?
Sorry. I digress.
Yeah.
I digress. So taxes.
No, okay. Maybe let's look at this differently, Afi. So if you look at how Nigeria is sort of set up, it's beginning to look like maybe Lagos is not a manufacturing state.
Yeah.
Shouldn't probably
Yeah,
never
yeah,
should
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah.
So it's not because of the way it's almost like saying you want to go and cite a manufacturing plant in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it probably might not
Yeah.
work for you. So Ogun State seems to be, leading. Which northern states do you think represent anything?
Kaduna is an excellent example. I can speak to. I mean, of course, I have my best friend who operates out of Kaduna, and the government has even gone as far as building roads into her farm because of the level of impact that farm and factory has on the community. Kaduna, even before I ever started a factory, I went to visit the Indomie factory in Kaduna, and the previous governor before Governor Rufai was commended for supporting the establishment of that factory. I think that's Indomie's most automated factory in the world.
Really?
As of when I went there, yes.
In Nigeria?
In Kaduna, yes. Wow. And so I think that Kaduna is one exemplary state. Some states offer land, Nasarawa, states like that, they can give what they can. It's easy to get land for industrial, commercial farming and things like that. But I think states need to step their game up and be like, yes. I'm from the... I don't want to come. No comment.
Southeast.
They'll throw party for you.
No comment. No
Southeast.
Comment. Yeah, no comment. I don't know. I can't speak to it.
But I mean, it's good. It's nice to hear.
South. You're from South.
South
It's nice to
people
hear
are.
some.
Yeah. No.
But tourism. I mean, it doesn't have to be manufacturing. Different regions. What exactly do we think that? I mean, we're talking about growing GDP, right?
Yeah.
Growing economy and all that.
Yeah.
So if you say, maybe Ogun State and a few other states are probably good in manufacturing. Probably manufacturing, and when you say manufacturing is actually broad. It could be maybe agro processing.
Oh, they are
So
very diverse.
if you look at a state like Kano, for instance, I was in Kano last year, and there is entire stretch of land. I actually thought, I mean, people are going to shoot me for this, but I actually felt like I was in the US, where it's farmland and irrigated farmland that was done by the government.
Private sector owned or government?
No, government. Yeah. This was out of town. I was going to visit a mango farm, and I was in awe that there was this much infrastructure to support irrigation for land, for farmers and things like that. So that's another example.
Something else I've also heard is that in some conversation is maybe we shouldn't really be an agriculture economy. Agriculture, an agriculture economy is probably not the sort of economy that we need to lift us out of poverty fast?
No, it's where we start.
That's a
It's where-
Samson conversation.
What
That's
would?
not the agrarian thing, but
No,
yeah,
but
what
you
would?
start from there.
I used to think that no, don't food security does not mean you growing your own food, blah blah, all those conventional things. And now I think by all accounts, and I think this last evaluation proved it to us, where there's inflation across the world, countries that are growing their own food suffer less, whereas Nigeria, more people are spending money on food. I think there has to be some shield that agriculture that offers, basically, both in terms of creating jobs, even if it's not the highest earning wages, etc., but it's better than people doing nothing, and also lowering the cost of food. I wonder how we are going to move from spending 70% of our income on food to 50%. Price of food either comes down or we earn more, which is easier.
I mean, the multiplier effect for that is also the
Yeah.
fact that the input it has on inflation. This inflation that we
Yeah.
are so fixated on, if it really bothers us as much as we say it bothers us, then we should fix food security. I think there was a while when I was talking about the large scale farmers in Nigeria complaining. You could see the appetite that they want to expand, but they're talking about infrastructure. They're talking about security. But they want to expand. They want to do a lot more, but they can't do it, and they're looking for capital. Because this conference I was, they were talking to people with large capital in Nigeria, so they want more capital. They want to do more. They want to invest more. So there's appetite from the farmers to do more. Where is the enabling situation to allow them to do what they want to do?
The type of capital that
I'm telling
supports
you.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so Afi, let's sort of now focus on you now, right? Yeah,
We're just doing that now.
yeah. And I mean, your journey has been pretty remarkable, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, because for a lot of us who start following in social media and all that, people, if you actually want to actually see how far you've come, all you need to just go and check our timeline from maybe 2014 or something, and then you basically see the journey, and all through. Maybe let's start with downsides, because I mean, success stories do come with a lot of pain and challenges.
Yeah.
What was that like, Nigerian wise?
Nigeria's happened to me. Nigeria's happened to me a lot, innumerable times. I think I'm now a masochist. I'm ready for.
You want more?
I'm where's it coming? Where's it coming? Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is just operating in such an unstable environment. I don't think Nigerians know how unstable. Macroeconomically, volatility in market prices, assumptions, business I've not had 5 years of stability ever in my 13 years of running a business. If FX doesn't crash, some new policy changes it, something happens.
Wow, that's a huge statement.
Because of that, it takes longer than it should for businesses. So I think, and that staying power is difficult for a lot of people to endure, because if you need to, you can only absorb losses for so long. You can only go X years without raising money, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's been the biggest challenge, that it's taken long because of the environment. I mean, not just because I launched a new product into the market, but because of the environment. So Nigeria's really happened to me, and I've just been fortunate that I could withstand it, because I have subsidies. I'm also subsidized by a lot of people. So that's helped. And I was able to stick with it long enough to prove what was, I believe, always there, that we can, produce local, you can manufacture at scale and sell to the world. But it took way too long to honor.
Which one would you say has been the biggest issue? Has it been exchange rate instability? Has it been taxes? Has it been interest rates?
I think the exchange rate has affected investor appetite. So I think wherever we've seen a lot of investor, flip-flopping in the market, has affected us the most. Now we are at an exchange rate that actually favors export. So when I first came, I don't think I could have been exporting, because we were completely overvalued. So we were never going to be able to sell and compete against other markets. And the big thing for us now is raw material. It's this dichotomy of there's a lot of fruit wasting, but when you try to amass a lot of fruit, it's a unique challenge.
So we have raw materials locally that
due to logistics, due to
can't
quality.
get to them.
Some of our customers now test our products for pesticides. So you got to know what each farmer is putting in their product or spraying. And those things are very difficult where, in an environment where there is no data. So we have people in the field going to see what farms. I mean, it's a very complex business, but yeah, that's a challenge. The raw material aspect of our business has now become one of the biggest challenges we must solve. Again, when you start off in manufacturing or any agribusiness, you think you're just playing in one side of it. Oh, I just want to build a factory. Then you got to solve everything that comes with, you got to eventually be an end-to-end player. That is an opportunity, but it takes long.
Sure, people see why Dangote is now doing
end-to-end.
truck.
You have to do end-to-end. You have to.
I remember there was a story she told me, I think it was 2018, 2019, I can't remember it was. And, it was this conversation about food is wasting in Nigeria. And she said, so the input into the product, like, so mangoes, for instance, like, you have to have the same species, you have to have the same taste. So you have to, for consistency, right? But then you think you would just go to one place and you get it, right? You have to go to this market, get it.
How is that now?
In some aspects, better than we expect. In some aspects, worse than we expect. So every year we get tagged for Benue mangoes. Benue mangoes are rotting. The problem with Benue is that to source mangoes, the farms are very tiny and very fragmented. And Benue is notorious for poor roads. Oh my God. Benue infrastructure, don't come for me, people from Benue. It's a fact. Like, the roads are very bad. So what I could aggregate from, say, Kaduna in a day will take 4 days or 5 days. So at that point, all the different mangoes you've harvested and brought to table are ripening at different times. Some are overripe. And if it's overripe, I can't process it. If it's harvested too early, it's never going to be sweet enough. So those kinds of challenges are why you see a lot of rot. Or you go to a market and you see all these mangoes and think, oh, we could just use all of them. No, you can't.
I'm just curious if Arnold is kind of convinced, because Arnold is just this, has this negativity around manufacturing in Nigeria. And
it's hard. It's very hard.
There's a people I'm spending time with, clearly, because of the new product that I'm working on.
It's hard.
Because you're seeing the pain, and there's so much you don't...
So how can you, what role do you play in all of this?
I mean, for me, it's a liquidity provider, right?
Yeah.
So it's a liquidity provider trying to make my investors money, but also then trying to lend at a rate that makes sense for them. I don't believe in overburdening businesses. I'm not even...
So aren't you scared that if you give, manufacturers your money, you can get lost?
No, well,
but what security do you
take? You do due diligence, right? The thing is, I hope not to take security. I don't want to be the bank asking for collateral. I hope not to take security. I don't want to take collateral, but I hope that we do the enough due diligence and choose the right businesses. Like it's like buying a stock or buying a business, right? You just have to hope that you do enough due diligence to make the right call. But these are the problems that we're hoping the liquidity that we provide
can help solve.
It can help solve, because you can see the potential, you can see how it affects the economy and the people.
Yeah.
You just and you have the liquidity, so you want to support.
Let me even say this. This is also why we need a grand master plan. So for someone like him that is a liquidity provider, in supporting a business like hers, there are things in her inputs that his liquidity can also help.
Like what?
So I don't know, maybe like the end farmer, maybe he needs tractors or something, and there's somebody supplying tractors to those kind of people, and the person comes to Arnold knowing that his tractors will help this particular
and that's a very good
business.
point.
So the chain, right?
So
Yeah.
are they both funding that? Because there's one thing to fund you, and then one thing to fund the value chain.
Yeah.
So are there people within your value chain that also have access to maybe concessional funds?
So in fairness, we're trying to champion this because we have to do it all.
Yeah.
But my value chain is not one that is particularly attractive, because tree crops take a long time to grow, and you need patient capital for like 4 to 5 years before you get first harvest. So it's a tricky one for me. But yes, in terms of
yes, right? You can deal with
you
outgrowers.
can, but you need people of the capital to set up, because it's not cheap to set up a tree plantation, but you wait 5 years for your first return.
Yeah.
And you have to invest, over that time. But into your question, there are more I think there's more input finance for shorter term crops, maize, soya. The government is trying there, and there's some, there's more patient capital for that. And nearly not enough, but more. And usually linked to an agro processor, which I like. And I think that model needs to be expanded. There's the person who needs the raw material the most is more vested in, the value chain and how it's being developed. So I think even lending through with a guaranteed market. I know the NADF is doing stuff around that. That's the National Agricultural Development Fund and other funds like that. So for other value chains, not mine, sadly, which I understand because, it's not a staple
That's
crop,
why it's just
et cetera.
easy. If you just have the money, just go and buy, is it 3,000 trucks? And just start distributing yourself. I mean, because you
have to
look
do
at,
it. It's,
you look at a lot
What do you
of
think
these
about that,
things.
though?
We had to build our own distribution. We still do a lot of like
Did
over
you face
50% of
cabals?
them.
Like existing.
No, we know because
We're
we're not
Greenfield.
in that. We're Greenfield, exactly. Now we want to be the.
You want to be the cabal.
I'm not.
Leave that in.
So here's I was listening to
It's a
this.
joke.
I was listening to this entrepreneur in the US, and he said something about that people are always against monopolies.
Yeah.
But monopolies are actually very helpful because
How?
think about it. It starts you might break it up eventually, but the fact that a monopoly is a monopoly means that sector is now thriving. The entry of this person has made this particular thing thrive.
Yeah,
Now
it's woken it up.
Exactly, it's
Yeah.
woken it up.
Yeah.
So you can hate him, you can hate her, you can, but this person has done this work. Now, and think about it. After all the work she's done, after all the work she's done.
Given my
are you
youth, I've
advocating-
given my youth to this business.
Are you
Okay,
advocating for
let me
monopoly?
tell you, let me speak for myself. You think I would invest my youth? Even as I was saying it, it sounded funny to me. You think I would invest my youth into developing a sector of the economy just to hand it over to someone else?
It's not handing over to someone else. You're still doing your business. It's somebody
No,
else.
but would you not fight for as many concessions as you can to support your business?
I kind of like this conversation, right? And
So let's have monopoly.
I want
to.
I want to take it somewhere, Afi, and it is in Nigeria, right? Is there no place for? Maybe it's not about is there no place. Doesn't it make sense to have a monopoly for a certain period? I know it's dangerous having a monopoly because at the end of the day, you always want to look at the consumer, right? But doesn't it make sense that in some industries, particularly nascent ones, you would always need to have a dominant player for a while
Then others will grow.
before you now
Yeah.
start to have others coming? I mean, because I kind of think that is what happened in most countries that at the end of the day came up with antitrust and all that. You had dominant monopolies for years. And
Nobody
then
else could get in.
Yeah, nobody could get in, at least allow them to now build some kind of mold
Muscle.
and muscle and competitive advantage. And then government now comes, okay, you know what, it's enough now. You break it down. So when we stifle businesses too early because we're afraid of monopoly, is it not a disadvantage to us as a country?
I actually think also structurally, the Nigerian economy is set up for one or two main players because there's such high barriers to scale. There's such high, so eventually there's so few people who can get to that level. If you look at manufacturing industry and why it's, a lot of people who survive just have access to debt. Why do they have access to it? Because they are big or they're connected or something, or they're getting their investment from outside the country. So that's just compounding. We're not playing by the same
But ultimately,
rules.
isn't it a disadvantage? Because from a consumer point of view, then if you have a monopoly, then they can always prices can always go down. That's usually the trade-off.
Yes, it is, but it's assuming that the monopoly is just like there to, to always be, maximizing profits. I think that
But
in
that's
Nigeria, unintentionally, you do create these systems. Yeah, let's not look at the big example of a monopoly in our industry, but looking at, let's say, another
Let's
quote
look at
unquote,
MTN.
let's look at Indomie or something as in the real sector. I mean, they're not
They're not more
doubling
than
or
12.
tripling the price of of noodles. It's just like
True,
they
that is a
are
good
building
point.
No,
capacity
they're
They're a
because-
monopoly to a degree,
Yes.
and they're quite sensitive.
Interswitch.
And they can actually double
Yeah,
prices.
they
And
buy
I
up
think that
all the
consumer will be
noodle
elastic enough to-
factories.
Interswitch
Yeah.
at the time broke away from the likes of eTransact and was like market leader for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now it's been pulled back by the new entrants, Nibs, all those guys. So market has now been fragmented. But at a particular time, if you were going to do financial transactions in Nigeria and you didn't talk to InterSwitch, you were not just serious.
Yeah.
Do you get? So, and InterSwitch was useful for that time.
Yeah.
Because I dare say that without InterSwitch at that time, maybe a lot of the, innovations we had down the line will not exist. And maybe even it's the way InterSwitch, the way they were was what created the rest of the guys. And we have several industries that are like that. It is important to have it because there will be somebody that will break the ground. There will be somebody that they will.
Someone has to break.
Somebody
ground.
will have to use their head as the coconut to be broken.
Someone has to show everyone that it's possible to do.
Yeah, because
Right.
what Affi is doing, and I know how
What
many.
about what you are doing? Because you keep calling Affiong.
Yeah,
No,
you know,
May-
hey,
may I have
antitrust,
regulator?
antitrust,
May I have
antitrust.
regulator?
Talking about regulator, let's even switch to pensions because that's also something that I have issues with, right?
He left the chat. I don't know much about it.
Kind of have issues with it. Even though this week I was pleasantly happy or pleased,
Yeah.
if that word play works. That there was a new regulation. That,
DG,
Yeah, the DG of pension. She seems to be on some kind of overdrive.
she's
of
on
late.
fire. No, I'm
You're smiling to the
I'm
bank.
Really
Yeah, that sounds like
no,
a plug.
it's not
That's a
smiling
plug.
to the bank.
Because I don't like when Tunji when he's
No,
happy
I'm
when he's
saying-
happy that we're talking about his regulator. You know what I mean? Like
No,
it doesn't just
Let me
work.
He should be happy.
explain it.
No, it shouldn't be.
Let me explain it this way. Right?
Anyway, what did she do?
No. So
Explain what
she's come in, and she's just simply
I'm not
said.
interested in what regulation did she do because your farm's in already. What happened?
So I'll speak to
industry.
the parts that concern me.
Not the part that concerns you.
Yeah.
There was a part that there was a regulation that came up now that will make PFAs work double. That's what I want you to explain. Because we've seen messages from them. Some of them were going after Otumba. So I want to know what their grouse is. What's their grouse? That thing annoyed me. What's their grouse? Why are they unhappy with that regulation? What's that regulation about?
Ultimately, the way the pension fund system has been set up in Nigeria is that pension fund administrators could do little to nothing in terms of customer relations, in terms of even the way they allocate investment funds, because there were just safe ways to do everything.
Wale is doing little. Wale, my guy.
No, so
go on.
everybody's my guy. I'm everybody's guy. They know me. I support the entire industry. But the thing is, what she's just saying is that we could do things better in terms of one, your relationship to your customers. There are some customers that don't even know how their pension funds work. They have zero clue about it. They receive notifications every month, but they are just like, this money, what is it you get? So all those things, it's and it's not just one part. It's not just the investment side. It's it's like she took the entire industry and they say, and honestly, it's not like she's taken 10 steps. It's just like maybe 2 or 3, but it's so huge in terms of where we're coming from. For instance, like the micro pension system, it's really not worked for a long time, generally because we called it micro pensions. So for entrepreneurs who are self-employed, I've just felt it's not for them because my income is maybe 10 million naira every month. Am I micro, But the system is a personal pension plan, and now they've recreated the system to call it a personal pension plan, and it allows for everybody to come in and invest and have their own personal pension. So it's sweeping. It's not just one side.
How does this help Affi?
So one of the things she has been doing is actively bringing in. So one of the things the PFAs have said is we want to invest in the real sector, but we do not have products to invest in. So there's been a lot of bring guys from the manufacturing, sit down with them. Bring guys from agriculture, sit down with them. Explain your models, explain how you make money, sit down with them. So I expect over the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, we'll start seeing pension fund allocations start to diversify a lot greatly into sectors that will benefit Nigeria as a whole, rather than just going to fixed income assets that.
But they can only allocate them to me, right? So where I'll create.
But isn't that? I'm sorry, I'm a bit ignorant on this. But isn't that always been the question that we need local capital to invest in local businesses versus cute versus
amongst them is
capital.
the largest local investment pot in Nigeria.
And the pensions should be responsible for developing.
So Arnold, you were particularly excited about the mark to market. Why?
Okay. So there are, when it comes to fixed income instruments, there are a couple of ways one can keep them in their books. One of the ways is something called hold to maturity. So I'll buy a bond, and for that it has a 10-year lifespan, and I'll keep it, and I'll buy it, and I will just hold it. And bonds, fixed income instruments accrue interests over time. So what people normally do is they buy it and they just hold it in its accrue it over time, and then when it comes to maturity, they redeem the bond. But it's not an actual reflection of the bond between year 1 and year 10, because through the year 1 and year 10, the bond price goes up and the bond price goes down. But what normally happens with a lot of fixed income investors or pension funds and asset managers is they don't recognize when the price goes up, the price goes down. So they don't recognize the market's pricing. What the SEC came out a couple of days ago, they came out a couple of days ago to say that you have to recognize the ups and the downs of the bonds and something called mark to market. So that's
ups and downs of the bond price.
Ups and downs of the bond price. So for me, it's exciting because it actually, for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons is it recognizes that bond prices go up and go down. Right, and so you have to see the bond for what it is, for its actual volatility. It shows. I think what it creates, it brings liquidity into the markets. For brokers, for example, on one hand, they can actually, you're going to see more activity with people actually buying and selling bonds because they have to, right? And it actually shows the market risk of the bond. It's like holding a stock. So when the price of Zen goes up, you recognize it. Price of Zen goes down, you recognize it. And the same thing for bonds. For me, it just brings forward thinking into the market, forwardness into the markets. It brings liquidity into the markets, and it just shows volatility and market risk.
So basically, why then are they angry? Because I mean, the way it kind of sounds, Afi, is they're basically saying that if you own a share in maybe Zenith Bank or Meta, and you bought it at $100, and tomorrow it's $90, then you have to recognize that $10 loss. Then if it goes up to 110, recognize that. So that's basically mark to market, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying. So, but there are some PFAs who are not happy with it because it then means you really have to work double, right? So you have to basically be very good at what you're doing. And I don't know why Arnold is not explaining that.
You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. So my point is that,
so
how does that help contributors? Like, does it now provide some kind of competition among PFAs? Because at the end of the day, a lot of us have said, look, PFAs just sit on a ton of like over 26 or so trillion in assets, most of it in fixed income securities. Right? They're basically lending to the government rather than investing in private equity guys who would invest in businesses and basically grow the economy.
On my DG's mandate, I stand. I can tell you that this is something that is bothering the industry. The fact that, there's very little innovation and very little dynamism in terms of growing investor funds, because it's not just keeping the funds to when you retire and pay you out. It's also the ability to be able to invest it in such a way that you don't just get what you've saved, but you get like multiple X, of what you saved. And I think it's critical. But also on the flip side is the fact that we know that these funds can really develop Nigeria's economy. And it's yes, the places we've invested in are great, but I'm saying that we could do more than just get returns. So yes, you will always get a return wherever you invest it in, but can we get a return and get a road also? Get a return and get
and it makes these guys look at other asset classes,
you know?
right? Like you said, it makes them look at, because fixed income is easy. Just buy. You don't even need to be a fund manager or a trader. You can be an accountant.
Anyway, from what we heard,
You can be an admin person.
Hasn't really extended to PFAs yet. It's probably
Asset
mutual funds and asset managers and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. But I kind of think that it should apply to PFAs as well. Let's see more competition.
Leave us alone now. What's your
Afi, coming back to you, Afi, women in business. That's something that we really appreciate here in Drinks and
Oh, you
Vibes.
do?
Yeah, a whole lot.
Can I say something? Can I say something controversial? What would it be without me saying something controversial? People always, I would say, is it a boxing of me as a woman in business? But I say, if being a woman was my top 10 challenge, top 10 part of my problems in business, I would be happy. I'd take it. There's this sense that, you're a woman in business, but I don't confront that on a day-to-day level. My market doesn't care that I'm a woman. My customers don't care that I'm a woman. The regulators coming to double tax me doesn't care that I'm maybe it even helps me. They would be like, okay, auntie, you're a wife and mom. But really, no, just as a, I understand the narrative and the importance of showing women in business, but actually, and I talk to my female entrepreneur friends, we don't say, oh wow, we're women in businesses, because the problems don't care about your gender.
Benefits and no disadvantages.
But I mean,
I actually think there's a benefit. I think that there's never been a better time to be a female entrepreneur in the world, actually.
Why
and in Nigeria, because there's so many select opportunities for just women. So you are now reducing the pool and obviously increasing chances of women to get advanced. There are training programs. I am fortunate enough to have gotten a gender lens investment, which focused on having a percentage of women, female ownership, which helped me get, obviously, be more applicable to get the funds by virtue of my gender. So I actually think right now in business, it's a good time to be a woman in business. But don't let it get to your head, because once you're in business, that's where it ends. Nobody cares. You're in the marketplace and it's a war and it's tough and it's not about
how has
your
this
gender.
changed your organization? Because I think we've been on this show once, discussed how maybe companies are basically set up for men, right? So maybe male-female bathroom, going on leave, how you deal with maternity leave and things like that.
Yeah.
So how has that changed your are there changes that you've done in your business that you probably think maybe male-owned businesses should probably think of doing?
So my business actually heavily female. So almost 80% of my factory workers are female. So by nature,
is that deliberate?
No. We just find that I think women like the food sector. but generally for a lot of the work on the factory floor, women tend to stick with it more than men. So by virtue of that, your policies are going to be driven by majority of your workforce. So what matters to majority of your workforce is what we implement. So by that virtue, we are. And of course, at a point, I had only female managers, because again, I think I know why that happened. I think as a budding, industry, women tend to be more loyal and stick with you and believe in the cause, whereas men need to be providers, and they're like, nah, we gotta make, is this working out or not? Let's find our way, kind of thing. So we have had that transition, but generally, we are kind of forward on that, just because majority of our employees are women. And so all the policies, and people ask, what's your gender strategy? I'm like, well, we're all women. So by virtue of the DNA of the company, we're not going to struggle to meet that. But in general, we don't see ourselves as that. That's not the identity of our business. We're about being a pace setter. None of my staff think, we're just women managers or we're majority women. Because again, the problems we face, we're, day to day, that does not come into play in our industry. So yeah.
You kind of think that, sorry to cut you. Do you kind of think that if you had more women entrepreneurs in Nigeria, probably be a better economy?
Do we not have them?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, they say Nigeria has the highest female entrepreneurs in the world.
Skill.
No, but entrepreneurs. You said entrepreneurs. I think if there's even a CBN something.
They said Nigeria has more female entrepreneurs per capita or something than ever.
Yeah,
well, mostly survivalist. You know what they call
that's
entrepreneurs.
What I don't want to talk about. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the person selling on the street and I'm talking about like.
But she's an entrepreneur.
I'm talking about structured. No, like female-led structured business.
Okay,
that's what I mean.
I think
not the kind of people Tunji goes to collect pension.
I take exception to that. I stand for my customers anywhere. My customers are doing fantastic, and they trade high volumes.
The politically correct answer is to say yes, but that's not a reflection of the marketplace. The marketplace is whose ideas are best and who is. I have done things most men cannot do, and and I'm not saying no. That is not a flex.
I agree.
It's not a flex. It's not a flex at all. It's about the factors that help you advance in the marketplace despite your gender. So even though we like to pit male and female, and you can say there are structural challenges, etc., it's a marketplace, and you always need. It's a place where people come and compete and people kind of advance. So it's not again the whole. I think that whole gender narrative is a little bit out of touch with what it takes to build successful businesses. And I don't really see, I think that Nigeria has big problems. So I'll take entrepreneurs of every kind. I mean, if you look at even, there's a big issue in like other countries around foreigners. Like I don't care the number of foreign entrepreneurs we have in this country because we need many entrepreneurs to build big businesses in every kind of capacity that they can come in. I'm all for that. But that's my view anyways. And, but yeah, I definitely think that more people and especially more women need to think about building big businesses, but we need to understand what that takes. And it's not a gender. Your gender stops being a big factor after. If you want to scale, it's hard. It's tough. The failure rate is bad. There's nothing like what's it called? Work-life balance, all the things, girl. I'm a girl. I know what we like to do, like chit-chat, do all that stuff. It gets tough. It gets overwhelming. It's high pressure. That is just the nature of building great things. And I think that's the reality. And I think we're going back to that. A couple of years ago, there was this scenario. There was a time when it was like, abolish hustle culture and like soft life. And it's like, I think we're waking up to the reality that there's nothing soft about doing great things. It's hard. It's hard. That's the reality.
All right, guys, this has been Drinks and Mics brought to you by the It's been an enthralling.
I like that message though. That no soft life.
Let's go back to
because it's the reality.
Business is hard. It is very, very hard.
Business is hard.
It doesn't care about.
But you know, this is a beautiful thing I like about building, especially when you're building in very unique spaces. I am never afraid for the simple reason that I know that it takes very crazy people like me to even do what I'm doing. So I'm never looking over my shoulder for competition because I'm like, come please, come and join. So it does help the entrepreneur really. And if somebody does excel in it, and you can't blame the person for just becoming a monopoly. You just can't blame the person because getting here was really, really difficult, and it's hard. It's hard.
All right, so we quickly move to buy, sell, or hold segment as we get close to the end of the show. I'm sure you guys don't want it to end at all. So buy, sell, or hold, Affi, is where we basically I throw up a question and buy means I agree, right? Okay. Sell means I don't agree. Hold means I'm neutral.
Okay.
Right. So that's to my question. I really don't get to respond. And I'm the one asking the question.
We have strong views.
Sometimes always try to force me in. So earlier in the day, we had news that Nigeria was likely going to host Commonwealth Games. And I don't know if you heard that. And I was one of those who kind of felt like it was high time we start to host games, because it kind of reminds me of the Obasanjo days where we're hosting a lot of competitions and what that really means for GDP growth rate. I kind of feel like countries should always host things. That's why Saudi is hosting all the time. So
Nigeria is bidding to host 2030 Commonwealth Games. Do you support it? Buy, sell, or hold? Maybe they could sell real fruits.
Yeah,
Stands, you know.
They
Damn,
better.
How do I think about that? I can't qualify my answer. I must just give an answer.
Buy,
You
sell,
can qualify your
hold
answer.
is your neutral.
Yeah,
Buy
you can qualify your answer.
yeah.
Don't just be like Tunji. Tunji has his buyish, shellish, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
So
but-
much.
We host the Commonwealth Games in 2030.
Yeah. It's that
Oh
priority.
my goodness. I would say sell.
Sell, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, have you checked our visa? Like, can
Can they change it before? Like, between
I
now
don't know
and
if I don't know if we can do that in 7 years. I mean, I think it's a whole. Yeah, I you know what? I don't think tourism is Nigeria's thing. I don't think that's what we should be chasing. So sell.
Wow. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should. So I'm a strong buy, and I'll tell you. So Morocco's hosting. Is it World Cup 2030?
No.
And is it World Cup or
No,
they're hosting
no,
something?
I don't know.
No, when it comes to sports, I don't.
No, yeah, I'm not. But I've seen Morocco
They're hosting golf, global
massively.
golf, and marathon.
Yeah, I've seen the amount of
walking.
money going to infrastructure for the country. I've seen over the stock market has picked up.
Yep.
So I'm
yep.
seeing a lot of activity going on now. Infrastructure, they're fixing, the investments are coming in, and I'm seeing improvements coming to Morocco from Casablanca to Marrakesh. It was already had something before, right? But it went through a serious period of non-activity. So real estate, investment, stock markets, bond markets, there was no activity going on for so many years. And since the announcement, it's just a boost and a boom coming into Morocco. I think that if we do the same, I like to think that we'll also get the same sort of boost in infrastructure.
She's not sold. Tunji, buy some.
You convinced me to sell
Let's
more.
hear it.
This would be odd, but I'm by. I listen to
Why is that
I
odd?
Buy,
listen to
sell.
and for the fact that I don't pretty much pay attention to what much comes out of his mouth, but Minister what do they call the governor of Abuja again?
FCT.
Wiki.
Yeah. So what is he?
Minister of the
Minister of the
FCC.
state,
sheriff for the
FCT. Okay, yeah. He was. I saw his, speech about the fact that the resultant infrastructure would be useful towards youth development in terms of sports.
As in when he was still there.
No, of course he won't be there, but I mean, it's the investment in the infrastructure. What people do not remember is that Nigeria '99. If you're old enough to remember Nigeria '99, when we hosted the Junior World Cup under Obasanjo,
Yeah.
was what resulted in the Abuja Stadium, I think.
And Koja, it was Koja.
Yeah, so
Koja.
we did quite a bit of building in terms of infrastructure. Now we did not.
But that stadium is dead now.
Ex-
So
I was
that's the
gonna
point.
say,
So that's the
Ibom-
point,
we have
right? We
Ibom
did not
Stadium that
leverage.
is-
We did not leverage on it, but that stadium still remains there.
As an
Right?
artifact.
I'd rather a road remain than a stadium.
No, so my thinking is, I
So we should be
believe.
building roads to manufacturing.
Exactly.
I
Sell,
believe that.
sell.
I believe.
More sell.
So I
You're
was.
talking too much already. So
You're making a case.
That's the reason why I'm talking. The reason why I'm talking is because
No, but South Africa did well after 2010.
no,
they're
South
shocking
Africa.
it.
So
I mean,
now,
they have
no,
concerts.
that's South Africa.
They have
Africa,
concerts,
so
they have
you know what?
uses, they
I
have
was actually
sports
buying for this
development.
before, but hearing Tunji,
No, it's
I think I'm really a sell.
Yeah. You should
Tunji
sell,
just made a sell. Like the way he was even going
Tunji,
around,
you're selling it.
around.
But wait, even South
You know
Africa,
what?
even South Africa,
It's
the
really-
the Soweto Stadium is
I
always
want us to
empty.
host things.
Yeah.
The Soweto Stadium is always empty.
I don't
right?
want
Hence why we
government.
should sell.
I don't want government. I don't want government who say
No,
anything.
me
Sell.
neither.
If it's
wow.
business, that's fine. Yeah, sell for me. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Exact opposite.
So we talked a lot about monopolies and all that, and I want to buy, sell, or hold there.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'm not putting you in a spot. But if you buy, sell, or hold, nascent businesses need some kind of monopoly or some kind of protection. Nascent businesses, that's what I said.
Man, I would say
Nascent industries.
by South Korea, I'm gonna copy the South Korea treble model
Yeah.
and say that worked well. Do I
That
think
worked well
Nigeria
there.
has the discipline
To do that.
Nah.
No,
But
no.
buy in theory, yes,
Yeah.
buy because for a period of time, protectionism can help spur an industry and open it up to be able to compete globally. So yes, buy. but not Nigeria, comma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with it, so that's Tunji will
So
call us
that's
Bayish.
Bayish hold. Yeah.
Yes, Bayish hold.
Everything you say is like
I'm
it's a
glad-
thing.
I'm glad everybody's getting it.
big thing. Like he really created this. He's so
I'm glad everybody's getting
annoying.
it.
He's annoying. I know.
So I mean, listen, people get shocked by I don't know whether it's communist or socialist or leftist views, but I believe in protectionism, right? So I think so you protect industries that are growing.
Not necessarily industries, they're like the dominant players in those industries.
You protect
Yeah.
you protect the players or
Yeah,
the
that's
industry?
what this is about. That's monopoly.
Yeah.
When
I
you say
guess so
monopoly,
you protect I don't like the idea of protecting the player, but I think the industry, I think to encourage the industry, you protect
No,
the
don't
player.
dance around. That's the question is
Yeah.
bias about
An industry will be made up of 2 or 3 big players.
Yeah, buy a show.
Bayish.
Yeah, it's just a buy show.
I can't believe
It's a buy show.
Arnold.
I'm sorry,
It's
man.
advice.
I'm
The
sorry.
only reason is for Nigeria
No, it's in Nigeria
because we don't have the
it's
discipline.
what I did
We don't have the
in Nigeria,
discipline. We don't have the
People take
discipline.
advantage of that. But
Oh my
I think
God.
in theory,
In theory, it makes
In
a lot of
theory. I
sense.
You were like always like
yeah, no,
Is it
it's a
like-
buy show. Tunji's a buy show. Tunji, do that face like yes, it's a buy show. Like a serious face like it's a buy show.
I would never say
because I
that.
get it.
Yeah.
You get it now,
Yeah,
right?
it's
You get it.
a buy show. It's a buy, but in Nigeria it's a hold. So it's a buy show.
No, I'm totally by on this. I think I still strongly believe in the way America was built.
Yeah.
Please, again, I'll say again, go and watch
Yeah, they
the
protected the
the
Rockefellers.
men who built America.
America.
America
Yeah.
couldn't have been built without monopolies.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been. I'm not saying it might not. It couldn't have been built without monopolies. Nigeria is similar. It will not be built without monopolies.
Yeah.
If you think otherwise, you're just deceiving yourself.
Yeah, I think
Monopolies with
monopolies-
regulations though.
Regulations will catch up later. Let the monopolies build the industry and build the sector first. Because
Don't
what
open up.
will you regulate? You can't regulate what doesn't exist now.
Or you just keep people away with
You
over-regulation.
Yeah.
Come and
In the beginning.
regulate when
Yeah.
there's
There's
When
something
there's
going on.
something to regulate.
All right. Last buy, sell, or hold. Something we also kind of touched on, which was manufacturing in zones. Are you supportive of a country that is somehow divided in terms of what each region stands for? So for example, should Southwest be maybe manufacturing? Should South be tourism? Should Southeast be trade? Are you supportive of that kind of
No,
arrangement by
sell.
No, wow.
No, primarily
Why?
because the factors of that make manufacturing competitive usually are linked. I don't know. I don't think that you can dictate what factors matter more. So if you say, okay, produce closer to where there's already some competitive advantage, you ignore other factors of production, say logistics, say, access to market, etc. So if you start to confine those to regions, you may make things very unproductive. So I believe Nigeria's economy is going to grow by 2 or 3 or 4 states pulling the rest up. I don't think we're going to have this egalitarian society where everybody
everybody's
finds
okay.
their niche and
Yeah.
just grows at it. No, I think Lagos is going to pull most of the country up as it should. And then other spillover states start to take a bigger share of that. So that's how I think any economy should be developed. It's,
Arnold?
yeah.
So I sort of have the exact opposite.
Why is Arnold saying everything Afi saying?
No. So
it's
it's not an
great.
exact opposite. It's I think there's a natural
opposite.
inclination.
Oh,
okay.
Right. So if you look at England,
refreshing.
right, so Newcastle is coal, London is banking. So I think that is a natural inclination to the regions just sort of take shape.
Yeah, like New York is financial.
Financial, Washington is whatever it is, right? So I don't really know America that well, but yeah, it just happens. So but I understand your point in terms of if you just focus on, river states for fish, then there will be no logistics.
And people in Lagos can farm fish better, or in other places can do it better.
But I think that sometimes areas it just takes shape, and I think just allow it to happen and then see what happens.
Yeah.
So you buy for that.
I'm by for that. Yeah.
Tunji?
I'm sell.
You're not a sellish hold.
I'm strong sell. I'm strong sell because
Why? You don't think some states are just better? Like some areas are just better at some things. I mean, probably better to farm in the north and the middle belt.
Yeah, like it was a soil
Tourism better
quality.
south,
Maybe you can get like
south.
good wine from
Some
Tourism is not
states,
better in the
yeah.
South because
you
of
see-
infrastructure.
What's better in the south?
Tourism is not better because of infrastructure and
So you're saying if we
security.
leave it that way, then
Yeah,
it's
then
just
it's just if you're going to force
Okay,
that.
so
that's what I'm saying. That's
yeah.
the point.
So what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, we will all be better at what we're better at. So you don't need to legislate or policy create that.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't say policy.
No. So the factor is this: we need a national growth agenda that speaks to everybody, like everybody is at the same level, and grows everybody thinking about the grand agenda of developing Nigeria. So we need. So I think the way I see it is the way China does it. So China gives every region its growth target. So we expect you to grow at 8%. We expect you to grow at 7%.
But there's support as well, though.
Exactly.
They force the
Did you
support,
get? It's a national like. So this is what Nigeria wants to do. We need 3 from you. We need 2 from you. We need 4 from you. So what do you need to
do
create
to
that
get
3?
there? Yeah.
What do you need to create that 2? So we then, and not that the resources come from all of us together, and then we do it together. So I don't think we sector this guy, the sector this. No, well, it's not even with Nigeria.
I
So
don't know trying that one, but didn't they do that? Isn't there
I
like
kinda think
a region that's like EVs or isn't that? I
For
thought
me,
that's what happened.
it's a buy for me though, and it's a buy because I kind of feel like as a country starts to evolve economically, I think you would have to at some point deliberately create zones. The same way in a state you have different economic zones. I kind of think in the country you gotta have zones. I mean, without necessarily legislating it, basically, right? So you can't tell a country, a state, not to decide they want to be a manufacturing hub or a farm and all that. But I think as that plan you're talking about from an FG point of view, and FG can say, you know what, from based on the resources that we've seen in some parts, we kind of feel like this is how we want to design, or this is kind of support we want to provide on an FG level. So you can say, okay, South, oil and gas zone. So most oil and gas HQ shouldn't be in Lagos, probably should be there.
it's like you're
That then
speaking like you don't know Nigeria.
Like he's a government official at doing that.
Probably sounds utopian, but let's move to the last buy sell
Very not
hold.
Nigeria.
This buy sell hold excludes you though, by the way. So buy sell hold Afi.
Bye. How about?
Am I commodity?
Bye.
And then one of the buy sell hold, it kind of looks like our female guests are often better than the male buy sell hold.
Yes.
I dare you.
Like what?
To be honest.
So what's your comment?
We've had bang-
Is it gender wars?
Yeah.
No, I'm not starting any gender wars, but honestly, our female guests have been phenomenal.
Because they're captains of
Exactly.
they're not, we're not just women.
about to sell. I don't know what's going to sell.
We're just women.
You were going to sell.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying I'm not
You were
I'm
gonna
stepping
sell.
out of that one. That one is
You're
that one is like a no trade.
Anyway, what do you guys think? I'm not starting a gender war. What do you think? All right. This has been Drinks and Mics brought to you by Nairametrics. It's been an
Absolute pleasure.
absolutely amazing episode. Always great seeing somebody from, like us, like business, not these guys here. Not this
Those out of touch people.
financial services guys that are out of touch, that don't know what we are facing.
How much is
The
the loaf of
struggles.
bread? How much is the loaf of bread, Tunji?
Depends
These guys
on
are
where you buy it from.
they haven't gone to
Oh, it's a
the
gallon
market.
of milk.
They're not at our level, right? So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, Afi, and hope
Thank
we can have you
you.
again on Drinks and Mics.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much,
really
everybody, for
enjoyed
being here.
myself.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you guys, and of course, follow, drop the likes, drop your comments. Tunji is here to respond to all your comments. Unlike last week. Bye.